If you're over 60 and worried about clogged arteries, I want you to pay close attention, because what I am about to explain surprises many people. A common belief I hear from patients is this: I'm on cholesterol medication, so my arteries should be protected. They take their prescription regularly, follow basic advice, and assume the problem is under control. But in real life, that's often not the case. Research shows that a significant number of adults over 60 continue to develop arterial plaque even while taking medication consistently. This can be confusing and discouraging, especially when you feel like you're doing everything you were told to do. Here's the part that's rarely explained clearly. Arterial plaque does not begin with cholesterol alone. It begins with chronic inflammation and oxidative stress inside the artery wall. Cholesterol simply becomes trapped in that inflamed environment. Lowering cholesterol numbers without calming inflammation is like cleaning the floor while a pipe is still leaking above you. That's why plaque can continue to build silently for years, even when lab results look better. After 60, this process accelerates for several reasons. Blood vessels naturally lose flexibility, nitric oxide production declines, antioxidant defenses weaken, circulation becomes less efficient together. These changes create an environment where plaque sticks more easily and hardens faster. This is also why symptoms often appear later rather than earlier. Many people feel fine until circulation becomes noticeably compromised. Here's the encouraging truth. Your body is still responsive after 60. Arteries are living tissue. When you reduce inflammation and support vessel function, they can become more flexible and resilient, even later in life. And some of the strongest signals for this repair process come from specific foods, not extreme diets or expensive interventions. Over years of working with adults over 60, I've seen certain foods consistently help support healthier arterial lining, improved blood flow, reduced inflammatory markers, and better long-term cardiovascular stability. These foods don't force the body to change. They support the systems that keep arteries clean and flexible naturally. In this series, I'm going to walk you through 6 specific foods that research has linked to better arterial health after 60. I'll explain why they work, how to use them safely, and what changes people commonly notice over time. I'll also point out common dietary mistakes that quietly cancel out progress, even in people who believe they're eating well. This isn't about fear. It's about understanding what truly protects your arteries as you age. And we're starting with a food that directly targets inflammation inside the artery wall, something very few foods can do effectively. Backhand index pointing right. In part 2, I'll reveal the first food and explain why it acts like a natural cleaner for aging arteries after 60. Before we talk about specific foods, you need to understand what actually goes wrong inside arteries after 60, because this is where most advice completely misses the mark. The earliest and most important change is not cholesterol buildup. It's damage to the inner lining of the artery, known as the endothelium. The endothelium is a thin layer of cells that lines every blood vessel in your body. When it's healthy, it keeps arteries smooth, flexible, and resistant to plaque. It also produces nitric oxide, a molecule that tells blood vessels when to relax and widen. After 60, this lining becomes more vulnerable. Years of low-grade inflammation, blood sugar spikes, stress hormones, and environmental exposure slowly irritate the endothelium. Over time, it loses its protective function. Tiny cracks and rough patches form on the artery wall, places where cholesterol can easily get stuck. This is a critical point. Cholesterol does not randomly stick to healthy arteries. It sticks to damaged, inflamed arteries. That's why some people with normal cholesterol still develop plaque, while others with higher numbers don't. The difference is the condition of the artery wall itself. Another change that happens after 60 is a drop in nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide keeps arteries flexible and helps blood flow smoothly. When levels fall, vessels become stiffer and narrower. Blood moves more slowly, pressure increases, and plaque has more time to settle and harden. This creates a vicious cycle. Damaged lining attracts plaque, plaque increases inflammation. Inflammation further damages the lining, and because this process is gradual, it often goes unnoticed until circulation is significantly impaired. Here's the part that should give you hope. The endothelium is highly responsive to nutrition. Certain foods send signals that calm inflammation, protect the artery lining, and increase nitric oxide production. When those signals are repeated consistently, the artery wall environment begins to change. This doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. I've seen adults over 60 improve blood flow, reduce stiffness, and stabilize plaque progression simply by supporting the artery lining instead of focusing on cholesterol alone. That's why the first food in this series is not chosen for its effect on cholesterol numbers. It's chosen because it directly supports endothelial repair, inflammation reduction, and nitric oxide availability. Without these, no artery support plan works long term. In part 3, I'll introduce the first food on the list, one that research shows helps calm arterial inflammation and protect the vessel lining at the source. I'll also explain how to use it correctly, because the form and timing matter more than most people realize. Backhand index pointing right. Part 3 reveals the first food that helps restore the artery lining after 60. Don't skip it. Now that you understand why artery damage begins with inflammation, not cholesterol alone, we can talk about the first food that directly addresses this problem. This food was not chosen because it's trendy. It was chosen because it repeatedly shows up in research on vascular health, inflammation control, and endothelial protection, especially in adults over 60. Food number 1, extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil works differently than most fats. It doesn't just replace unhealthy oils. It actively signals your blood vessels to calm down. The key compounds in high-quality olive oil are called polyphenol. These compounds reduce inflammatory signaling inside the artery wall and protect the endothelium from oxidative stress, the very damage that allows plaque to take hold. In simple terms, olive oil helps restore a smoother, healthier artery surface. Studies show that adults over 60 who regularly consume extra virgin olive oil tend to have better endothelial function, improved nitric oxide activity, reduced markers of arterial inflammation, and slower plaque progression over time. This is not about flooding your diet with oil. It's about using the right oil in the right way. Why olive oil works better after 60. As we age, our arteries become more sensitive to oxidative damage. Polyphenol act like a protective coating, reducing that damage before it accumulates. Another benefit is blood flow. Olive oil supports nitric oxide signaling, which helps arteries relax and widen. This improves circulation and reduces the mechanical stress that accelerates plaque formation. Many people assume all olive oil is the same, but that's a mistake. How to use it correctly for artery support after 60, quality matters more than quantity. I recommend extra virgin olive oil only cold pressed with a strong, slightly peppery taste, a sign of polyphenol. Heat destroys many of the beneficial compounds, so olive oil works best when drizzled over cooked vegetables added to salads, or used at low cooking temperatures. A modest daily amount, about 1 to 2 tablespoons, is enough to send consistent protective signals to the arteries. A common mistake to avoid: many people replace olive oil with heart-healthy seed oils. Unfortunately, these oils are often highly processed and can increase inflammation rather than reduce it. Switching from inflammatory oils to olive oil alone can noticeably improve vascular markers over time. This is why olive oil is the foundation food in this series. It creates a calmer internal environment where other artery-supportive foods can actually work. But olive oil doesn't work alone. Once inflammation is reduced, the next step is improving blood vessel flexibility and circulation, so plaque has less opportunity to stick and harden. In part 4, I'll introduce the next food on the list, one that directly supports nitric oxide production and helps arteries stay open and flexible after 60. Backhand index pointing right. Part 4 reveals the circulation-supporting food that keeps arteries from stiffening as you age. Once inflammation inside the artery wall is reduced, the next major challenge after 60 is arterial stiffness. Even arteries that are relatively clean can still become rigid with age. When that happens, blood flow slows, pressure increases, and plaque has more time to attach and harden. This is one of the reasons circulation problems often appear later in life, even in people who believe their diet is healthy. The key issue here is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a signaling molecule produced by the endothelium. It tells blood vessels when to relax and widen. When nitric oxide levels are healthy, arteries remain flexible and responsive. When levels drop, which commonly happens after 60, vessels stay partially constricted. This creates several problems at once. Blood pressure rises, blood flow becomes turbulent, arterial walls experience more stress, plaque forms more easily. That's why supporting nitric oxide production is essential for long-term artery health. Food number 2, beets and beetroot. Beets are one of the most effective foods for naturally increasing nitric oxide availability. They contain dietary nitrates, which your body converts into nitric oxide through a well-established pathway. This process becomes especially valuable after 60, when natural nitric oxide production declines. Research shows that beet consumption is associated with improved blood vessel dilation, better circulation, reduced arterial stiffness, and more efficient oxygen delivery. In practical terms, this means blood moves through arteries with less resistance, giving plaque fewer opportunities to settle and grow. Why beets matter more after 60? As arteries age, they lose elasticity. Beets help counter this by improving the signaling that keeps vessels relaxed. This reduces mechanical stress on the artery wall, which is one of the drivers of plaque progression. Better circulation also means nutrients and oxygen reach the artery lining more effectively, supporting ongoing repair. How to use beets safely and effectively? You don't need large amounts. Small, consistent intake works best. Roasted beets added to meals, beet juice in modest portions, or powdered beetroot mixed into foods. What matters is regular exposure, not high doses. One caution: beet products can be high in natural sugars, so moderation is important, especially for people managing blood sugar. A common misunderstanding: some people assume nitric oxide boosters are only for athletes. In reality, nitric oxide support is more important for older adults, because it directly addresses age-related vascular stiffness. Beets don't stimulate the heart. They support the vessels. This makes them a powerful second food in an artery support plan after 60. But flexibility alone isn't enough. Even flexible arteries need protection from oxidative damage, the process that hardens plaque and accelerates aging of the vessel wall. In Part 5, I'll introduce the next food, one that acts like a shield against oxidative stress and helps prevent plaque from becoming dangerous. Backhand index pointing right. Part 5 reveals the antioxidant-rich food that protects arteries from internal damage after 60. So far, we've focused on calming inflammation and keeping arteries flexible. But there's another force that quietly accelerates plaque buildup after 60: oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is the chemical damage caused by unstable molecules called free radicals. Over time, these molecules attack the artery wall, harden existing plaque, and make it more likely to rupture. This is one of the reasons plaque becomes more dangerous as we age, even when cholesterol levels appear controlled. Think of oxidative stress as rust forming inside your arteries. The more rust there is, the more brittle and fragile the vessel wall becomes. This is why antioxidant protection is not optional after 60, it's essential. Food number 3, berries, especially blueberries. Berries are among the most powerful foods for protecting arteries from oxidative damage. They're rich in polyphenol and anthocyanins, compounds that neutralize free radicals before they can damage the artery lining. These compounds also help stabilize plaque, making it less likely to crack or inflame surrounding tissue. Research involving adults over 60 shows that regular berry consumption is associated with improved endothelial function, reduced oxidative stress markers, better arterial elasticity, and slower plaque progression. Blueberries, in particular, stand out because they provide a high concentration of these protective compounds without spiking blood sugar when eaten in reasonable amounts. Why berries matter more with age? As we get older, our natural antioxidant defenses weaken. The body produces fewer protective enzymes, and damage accumulates more quickly. Berries help fill that gap. They don't just neutralize free radicals, they also activate the body's own antioxidant systems, helping arteries defend themselves more effectively. Another benefit is inflammation control. Oxidative stress and inflammation feed off each other. By reducing oxidative damage, berries indirectly calm inflammatory signaling inside the artery wall, creating a more stable environment overall. How to use berries effectively? You don't need large servings. A small daily portion, fresh or frozen, is enough to deliver consistent protection. Frozen berries are just as effective as fresh and often more affordable. What matters is frequency, not quantity. Avoid berry products loaded with added sugars, syrups, or juices. Whole berries provide fiber, which slows sugar absorption and supports blood vessel health. A subtle but important effect. One benefit many people don't notice right away is improved blood vessel communication. Healthy arteries respond better to signals that regulate blood pressure and flow. Over time, this contributes to smoother circulation and less mechanical stress on plaque. At this point, your artery support plan includes inflammation reduction, improved vessel flexibility, antioxidant protection, but there's still a missing piece. Plaque doesn't just form in large arteries. It also affects circulation at the microvascular level, the tiny vessels that feed tissues and help regulate overall blood flow. In Part 6, I'll introduce the next food, one that supports circulation at this deeper level and helps reduce the workload on aging arteries. Backhand index pointing right. Part 6 reveals the food that improves circulation where plaque causes the most hidden damage after 60. When people think about clogged arteries, they usually picture large vessels near the heart. But one of the most overlooked problems after 60 happens much deeper, in the microcirculation. Microcirculation refers to the tiny blood vessels that branch off from larger arteries. These vessels regulate blood flow to tissues, help control blood pressure, and reduce strain on major arteries. When microcirculation weakens, blood backs up, pressure rises, and plaque-related damage accelerates upstream. This is why supporting circulation at this level is so important. Food number 4, fatty fish, rich in omega-3s. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel provide omega-3 fatty acids, which play a unique role in vascular health after 60. Omega-3s don't just reduce inflammation. They improve blood flow quality. They help reduce excessive blood stickiness, improve flexibility of small vessels, calm inflammatory signaling in capillaries, reduce stress on larger arteries. This creates smoother circulation throughout the entire vascular system. Research involving adults over 60 consistently shows that omega-3 intake is associated with improved microvascular function, reduced arterial inflammation, lower risk of plaque instability, and better overall blood flow. Why microcirculation matters after 60? When microvessels are healthy, blood moves efficiently and pressure is distributed evenly. When they're damaged or inflamed, resistance increases, forcing the heart and large arteries to work harder. This extra strain accelerates plaque formation, increases blood pressure, worsens endothelial damage. Omega-3s help reverse this by calming the vascular environment from the smallest vessels upward. How to use fatty fish effectively? You don't need daily servings. 2 to 3 servings per week of fatty fish provide meaningful benefits. For those who don't eat fish, high-quality omega-3 supplements can be an option, but food sources are generally better absorbed. Avoid deep-fried fish or heavily processed options, which negate many benefits. A common misunderstanding: some people focus only on omega-3s for joint health. In reality, their most powerful effect after 60 may be on vascular flow and plaque stability. By improving microcirculation, omega-3s reduce the conditions that allow plaque to become dangerous. At this stage, your artery support plan includes inflammation control, vessel flexibility, antioxidant protection, improved circulation at multiple levels. There are just 2 foods left. The next one works in a completely different way, by supporting arterial repair and cellular energy, helping the vessel wall maintain itself over time. In Part 7, I'll introduce the next food and explain why it's especially important for older adults who feel fatigue, cold extremities, or slow recovery. Part 7 reveals the food that helps aging arteries repair themselves after 60. By now, you've seen how inflammation, stiffness, oxidative stress, and poor circulation all contribute to plaque buildup after 60. But there's another factor that often goes unnoticed, and it explains why many people feel tired, cold, or slow to recover even when their diet seems healthy. That factor is cellular energy inside the artery wall itself. Arteries are living tissue. The cells that line and support them require a constant supply of energy to repair damage, maintain flexibility, and regulate blood flow. After 60, that energy production declines. When energy production drops, repair processes slow, inflammation lingers longer, vessel walls become fragile, plaque becomes more difficult to stabilize. This is why fatigue, cold hands and feet, and slow healing often appear together with vascular issues. Food number 5, eggs. Used correctly, eggs play a unique role in artery health because they support cellular repair and energy metabolism. Eggs provide high-quality protein for tissue repair, choline, which supports cell membrane integrity, B vitamins that help mitochondria produce energy, antioxidants like lutein that protect vessel walls. For adults over 60, these nutrients are especially valuable because absorption of B vitamins and choline often declines with age. Eggs support arterial health in 2 key ways. First, they help maintain the structure of the endothelial cell membranes. Healthy membranes allow better nitric oxide signaling and reduce inflammatory leakage into the artery wall. Second, they support mitochondrial function inside artery cells, helping those cells produce the energy needed for ongoing maintenance and repair. Addressing the cholesterol concern, many people still worry about eggs and cholesterol. However, research shows that for most adults, dietary cholesterol from eggs has a minimal impact on blood cholesterol levels. What matters far more is inflammation and insulin resistance, both of which eggs do not promote when eaten in moderation. In fact, eggs often improve satiety and blood sugar control, reducing the need for refined carbohydrates that damage arteries. How to use eggs after 60? Preparation matters. Gentle cooking preserves nutrients. Soft-boiled, poached, lightly scrambled. Avoid overcooking or frying in inflammatory oils. 1 egg per day, or several eggs spread throughout the week, is enough to provide benefits without excess. Why eggs matter in this sequence? Eggs work best after inflammation is reduced and circulation is supported. That's why they appear later in this series. They help arteries maintain and repair themselves, rather than simply reducing damage. At this point, your artery support strategy includes calming inflammation, improving flexibility, protecting against oxidative stress, enhancing circulation, supporting cellular repair. There is just one food left. And it ties everything together by addressing mineral balance and arterial resilience, something few people think about, but almost everyone over 60 needs. In Part 8, I'll reveal the final food and explain how to combine all 6 foods into a simple, realistic routine you can actually follow. Backhand index pointing right. Part 8 brings the entire artery protection plan together after 60. Up to now, we've focused on calming inflammation, improving flexibility, protecting arteries from oxidative damage, enhancing circulation, and supporting cellular repair. There is one last factor that quietly determines whether all of those benefits actually last. That factor is mineral balance inside the artery wall. After 60, many people unknowingly develop subtle mineral deficiencies. These deficiencies don't cause obvious symptoms right away, but they weaken the structural integrity of blood vessels over time. When this happens, arteries become more fragile, less resilient, and more vulnerable to plaque progression. Food number 6, pumpkin seeds, and other zinc-rich seeds. Pumpkin seeds provide 2 minerals that are especially important for artery health after 60, zinc and magnesium. Zinc is essential for tissue repair. It activates enzymes that help maintain the structure of the artery wall and supports the immune responses that prevent chronic inflammation from lingering. Without adequate zinc, repair slows and damage accumulates. Magnesium plays a different but equally important role. It helps regulate blood vessel tone, supports nitric oxide signaling, and prevents excessive constriction of arteries. Magnesium deficiency is common after 60 and is associated with increased arterial stiffness and higher vascular stress. Pumpkin seeds provide these minerals in a form that is easy to absorb and gentle on digestion. A small daily serving, even 1 to 2 tablespoons, can help restore mineral balance over time. Why mineral support matters more than people realize. Inflammation, oxidative stress, and plaque formation all worsen when arteries lack the minerals needed to maintain their structure. Minerals don't work like drugs, they don't force change. They provide the foundation that allows repair and protection to continue quietly in the background. This is why some people improve initially with dietary changes but then plateau. The underlying structure was never fully supported. Putting all 6 foods into a simple routine. You don't need to eat all 6 foods every day. Here's a realistic approach many people find sustainable after 60. Daily foundations: extra virgin olive oil, a small serving of berries several times per week, beets or beetroot, fatty fish rotated regularly, eggs, pumpkin seeds. This pattern provides consistent support without feeling restrictive or overwhelming. What most people notice over time when this system is followed consistently, many people report improved circulation, less stiffness, better energy, more stable blood pressure, and greater confidence in their cardiovascular health. These changes don't happen overnight. They build quietly, which is exactly how real arterial protection works. The bigger picture after 60, arteries don't need to be forced. They need to be supported. When inflammation is calmed, vessels stay flexible, oxidative damage is reduced, circulation improves, and repair is supported at the cellular level. Plaque progression often slows dramatically. And it starts with simple, repeatable food choices.